Chapter 5 Morphology of Flowering Plants. The wide range is the structure of higher plants will never fail to fascinate us, even though the angiosperms show such a large diversity in external structure of morphology. They are all characterized by presence of roots, stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. In chapters 2nd and 3rd, we talked about classification of plants based on morphological and other characteristics. For any successful attempt at classification and at understanding any higher plant, or for that matter any living organism, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variations in different parts found as adaptations of the plants to their environment. Example, adaptation to various habitats or protection, climbing and storage, etc. If you pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have roots, stem and leaves. They may be bearing flowers and fruits. The underground part of the flowering plant is the root system, while the portion above the ground forms the shoot system. 5.1 The root. In majority of the dicotyledonous plant, the direct elongation of radicle leads to the formation of a primary root which grows inside the soil. It bears lateral roots of several orders that are referred to as secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. The primary roots and its branches constitute the taproot system, as seen in the mustard plant. In monocotyledonous plant, the primary root is short-lived and is replaced by a large number of roots. These roots originate from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system, as seen in the wheat plant. In some plants like grass, monstera and banyan tree, roots arise from parts of the plant other than the radicle and are called adventitious roots. The main functions of the root system are absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing a proper anchorage to the plant parts, storing reserve food materials and synthesis of plant growth regulators. Figure 5.2 Different types of roots, that is tap, fibrous, adventitious. 5.1.1 Regions of the root. The root is covered at the apex by a thimble-like structure called the root cap. It protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap is the region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin-walled and with dense protoplasm. They divide repeatedly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root in the length. This region is called the region of elongation. The cells of the elongation zone gradually differentiate and mature. Hence, the zone proximal to region of the elongation is called the region of maturation. From this region, some of the epidermal cells from very fine and delicate thread-like structures called root hairs. These root hairs absorb water and minerals from the soil. 5.2 The stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from the root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of germinating seed. The stem bears nodes and internodes. The region of stem where leaves are born are called nodes, while internodes are the portion between two nodes. The stem bears buds which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and later often becomes woody and dark brown. The main function of the stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers and fruits. It conducts water, minerals and photosynthesis. Some stems perform the function of storage of food support, protection and of vegetative propagation. 5.3 The leaf. The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axial. The axillary bud later develops into a branch. Leaves originate from shoot apical meristems and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts: leaf, base, petiole and lamina. The leaf is attached to the stem by the leaf base and may bear two lateral small leaf-like structures called stipules. In monocotyledons, the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, which is called the pulvinus. The petiole help hold the blade to light. Long, thin, flexible petioles allow leaf blades to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf blade is the green expanded part of the leaf with veins and veinlets. There is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as the midrib. Veins provide rigidity to the leaf blade and act as channels of transport for water, mineral and food materials. The shape, margin, apex, surface and extent of incision of lamina varies in different leaves. 5.3.2 Types of leaves. A leaf is said to be simple when its lamina is entire or when incised. The incision do not touch the midrib. When the incisions of lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into number of leaflets, the leaf is called compound. A bud is present in the axial of petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axial of leaflets of the compound leaf. The compound leaves may be of two types. In a pinnately compound leaf, a number of leaflets are present on a common axis, the rachis, which represents the midrib of the leaf as in neem. In palmately compound leaves, the leaflets are attached at a common point, that is at the tip of petiole as in silk cotton. 5.3.3 Phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch. This is usually of three types: alternate, opposite and whorl. In alternate type of phyllotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard and sunflower plants. In opposite type, a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other, as in Calotropis and Guava plants. In more than two leaves arise at a node and form a whorl, it is called whorl, as in Alstonia. 5.4 The inflorescence. A flower is modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes to floral meristem. Internodes do not elongate and axis gets condensed. The apex produces different kinds of floral appendages laterally at the successive nodes instead of leaves. When a shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is always solitary. The arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. Depending on whether the apex gets developed into flower or continues to grow, two major types of inflorescences are defined: racemose and cymose. In racemose type of inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in an acropetal succession. In cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates in a flower, hence is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in a biseptal order. 5.5 The flower. The flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperms. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has four different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or pedicle, called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are the reproductive organs. In some flowers like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. A flower having either only stamens or only carpels is unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be antimorphic, that is radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, that is bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal radial hulls in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. Example is mustard, datura, chili. When it can be divided into two similar hulls only in one particular vertical plane, it is zygomorphic. Example, pea, gulmohar, bean, cassia. A flower is asymmetric, that is irregular, if it cannot be divided into two similar hulls by any vertical plane passing it through the center, as in canna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous or pentamerous when the floral appendages are in multiple of 3, 4 or 5 respectively. Flowers with bracts reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicle are called bractate, or those without bracts ebractate. Figure 5.9 shows the position of floral parts on thalamus, hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. Based on the position of calyx, corolla and androecium in respect of the ovary on thalamus, the flowers are described as hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. In the hypogynous flowers, the gynoecium occupies the highest position while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such a flowers is said to be superior. Example, mustard, China rose and brinjal. If gynoecium is situated in the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level, it is called perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior. Example, plum, rose, peach. In epigynous flowers, the margin of thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of the flower arise above the ovary, hence the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flowers of guava and cucumber and the ray florets of sunflower. 5.5.1 Parts of flower. Each flower normally has 4 floral whorls, viz. Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. 5.5.1.1 Calyx. The calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower and the members are called sepals. Generally, sepals are green, leaf-like and protect the flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous, which means sepals united, or polysepalous, that means sepals free. 5.5.1.2 Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalous, that is petals united, or polypetalous, that is petals free. The shape and color of corolla vary greatly in plants. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped or wheel-shaped. Aestivation. The mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in floral bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as aestivation. The main type of aestivation are velvet, twisted, imbricate and vexillary. When sepals or petals in a whorl just touch one another at the margin without overlapping as in calotropis, it is said to be velvet. If one margin of the appendages overlaps that of the next one and so on as in China rose, ladyfingers and cottons, it is called twisted. If the margins of sepals or petals overlap one another but not in any particular direction as in cassia and gulmohar, the aestivation is called imbricate. In pea and bean flowers, there are 5 petals. The largest, that is standard one, overlaps the 2 lateral petals, that is wings, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior petals, that is keel. This type of aestivation is known as vexillary or papilionesis. 5.5.1.3 Androecium. Androecium is composed of stamens. Each stamen, which represents the male reproductive organs, consists of a stalk or filaments and an anther. Each anther is usually bilobed and each lobe has 2 chambers, the pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called a staminode. Stamens of flower may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves. When stamens are attached to the petals, they are epipetalous as in brinjal, or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth as in the flowers of lily. The stamens in a flower may either remain free, that is polyhydrous condition, or may be united in varying degrees. The stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle, that is monodelphous as in China rose, or 2 bundles, that is didelphous as in pea, or into more than 2 bundles, that is polydelphous as in citrus. There may be variation in the length of filamentous with a flower as in salvia and mustard. 5.5.1.4 Gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of 1 or more carpels. A carpel consists of 3 parts, namely stigma, style and ovary. Ovary is the enlarged basal part on which lies the elongated tube, the style. The style connects the ovary to the stigma. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is the receptive surface for pollen grains. Each ovary bears 1 or more ovules attached to a flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than 1 carpel is present, they may be free as in lotus or rose and are called apocarpus. They are termed cyanocarpus when carpels are fused as in mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develop into seeds and the ovary matures into a fruit. Placentation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central and free central. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary and the ovules are borne on this ridge forming two rows as in P. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, the placentation is said to be axial, as in China rose, tomato and lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovules developed on the inner wall of the ovary or on peripheral part. Ovary is one-chambered, but it becomes two-chambered due to the formation of the false septum. Example, mustard and argemone. When the ovules are borne on central axis and septa are absent, as in dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called a free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of ovary and a single ovule is attached to it, as in sunflower, marigold. 5.6. The fruit. The fruit is a characteristic features of the flowering plants. It is a mature or ripened ovary developed after fertilization. If a fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called a parenthecarpic fruit. Generally, the fruit consists of a wall or pericarp and seeds. The pericarp may be dry or fleshy. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into the outer epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and the inner endocarp. In mango and coconut, the fruit is known as drupe. They develop from monocarpellary superior ovaries and are one-seeded. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated into an outer thin epicarp, a middle fleshy edible mesocarp, and an inner stony hard endocarp. In coconut, which is also a drupe, the mesocarp is fibrous. 5.7. The seed. The ovules after fertilization develop into seeds. A seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. The embryo is made up of an radicle, an embryonal axis, and one, as in wheat, maize, or two cotyledons, as in gram and pea. 5.7.1. Structure of dicotyledonous seed. The outermost covering of a seed is the seed coat. The seed coat has two layers, the outer testa and the inner tegmen. The hilum is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds were attached to the fruit. Above the hilum is a small pore called the micropyle. Within the seed coat is the embryo consisting of an embryonal axis and two cotyledons. The cotyledons are often fleshy and full of reserve food materials. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present the radicle and the plumule. In some seeds such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of the double fertilization is a food storing tissue and called endospermic seeds. In plants such as bean, gram and pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds and such seeds are called non-endospermous. 5.7.2 Structure of monocotyledonous seed. Generally, monocotyledonous seeds are endospermic, but some, as in orchids, are non-endospermic. In the seeds of cereals such as maize, the seed coat is membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. The endosperm is bulky and stores foods. The outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinous layer called aleurone layer. The embryo is small and situated in a groove at one end of the endosperm. It consists of one large and shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum and a short axis with a plumule and radicle. The plumule and radicle are enclosed in a sheath which are called coleoptile and coleorhiza respectively. 5.8 Semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. Various morphological features are used to describe a flowering plant. The description has to be brief in a simple and scientific language and presented in a proper sequence. The plant is described beginning with its habit, vegetative characters, roots, stem and leaves, and then floral characters, inflorescence and flower parts. After describing various parts of plant, a floral diagram and a floral formula are presented. The floral formula is represented by some symbols. In the floral formula, BR represents for bractet, K stands for calyx, C for corolla, P for perianth, A for androecium and G for gynoecium. Line below G for superior ovary and line above G for inferior ovary. Sign for male, sign for female, both sign for bisexual plants, cross in a circle sign for actinomorphic and sign of percentage for zygomorphic nature of flower. Fusion is indicated by enclosing the figure within bracket and adhesion by a line drawn above the symbols of the floral parts. A floral diagram provides information about the number of parts of flower, their arrangement, and the relation they have with one another. The position of the mother axis with respect to the flower is represented by a dot on the top of the floral diagram. Calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium are drawn in successive whorls, calyx being the outermost and gynoecium being in the center. Floral formula also shows cohesion and adhesion within parts of whorls and between whorls. The floral diagram and floral formula in figure 5.16 represents the mustard plant family Brassicaceae. 5.9 Solanaceae. It is a large family commonly called as potato family. It is widely distributed in tropics, subtropics, and even temperate zones. Vegetative characters. Plants mostly herbs, shrubs, and rarely small trees. Stem. Herbaceous, rarely woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical, branched, solid, or hollow. Hairy or glabrous, underground stem in potato, that is Solanum tuberosum. Leaves. Alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulate, venation reticulate. Floral characters. Inflorescence. Solitary, axillary, or cymose as in Solanum. Flower. Bisexual, actinomorphic. Calyx. Sepals 5 united persistent velvet estivation. Corolla. Petals 5 united velvet estivation. Androecium. Stamens 5 epipetalous. Gynoecium. Bicarpellary obligatory placed. Syncarpous ovary superior. Bilocular. Placenta swollen with many ovules axil. Fruits, berry or capsule. Seeds, many endospermous. Economic importance, many plants belonging to this family are source of food, that is tomato, brinjal, potato. Spice, chili, medicine, belladonna, ashwagandha. Fumigatory, tobacco, ornamentals, petunia. Let us discuss the summary of chapter. Flowering plants exhibit enormous variation in shape, size, structure, mode of nutrition, lifespan, habit, and habitat. They have well-developed root and shoot systems. Root system is either taproot or fibrous. Generally, dicotyledonous plants have taproots while monocotyledonous plants have fibrous roots. The roots in some plants get modified or storage of food, mechanical support, and respiration. The shoot system is differentiated into stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. The morphological features of stem, like the presence of nodes and internodes, multicellular hair, and positively phototrophic nature, help to differentiate the stem from roots. The leaf is a lateral outgrowth of the stem developed exogenously at the node. These are the green in color to perform the function of photosynthesis. Leaves exhibit marked variation in their shape, size, margin, apex, and extent of incision of leaf blade, that is lamina. The flower is modified shoot meant for sexual reproduction. The flowers are arranged in different types of inflorescence. They exhibit enormous variation in structure, symmetry, position of ovary in relation to other parts. Arrangement of petals, sepals, ovules, etc. After fertilization, the ovary is modified into fruits and ovules into seeds. Seeds either may be monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. They vary in shape, size, and period of viability. The floral characteristics from the basis of classification and identification of flowering plants. This can be illustrated through semi-technical description of families. Hence, a flowering plant is described in a definite sequence by using scientific terms. The floral features are represented in the summarized form as floral diagrams and floral formula.